Welcome to the 90th Minute podcast. I am your host, Mario. I'm here with my co-host, Leon.
Hello?
Give me a little bit more life and
There ain't no life. There ain't no more life. There ain't no more life.
All right, so Leon is high on, they call it pain pills. For
hmm
some reason, he had to take pain pills for the day. And they have put him in some sort of kind of a drowsy kind of feeling, right?
Yep.
So
And
if you fall asleep,
if I didn't fall
during the
asleep,
podcast, don't worry.
it's the
You
pain.
continue.
If I take the stronger painkillers, I'm definitely out.
Then take them. Let's see how long before you fall asleep. Because if we can get the best version of the podcast, but not wrong if you drop asleep on the podcast, you continue about there. So, all right, so let's keep the podcast light and fun now with just some transfer news. It's not going to anything crazy, and there is nothing crazy to really go into. Let's go right into the meat of it. I would never rent a player for 2 years. I would take a player in a loan for 2 years if it made sense. But I would never spend money, especially anything 100 million range. Shit, 50 million range for a player for 2 seasons.
And for
And
persons who don't know, we're talking about Erling Haaland.
yeah, so my
So
opinion
here's the
on the.
backdrop, right? So
All
let
right, yeah,
me
go
let me
on,
give
get
you
him,
the
get him, get
backdrop.
him. Yeah, get
A
him.
very reputable source, very reputable. And when I mean reputable, I mean she is months in advance in terms of contract negotiations. She also has access to the transfer system that most of the clubs use by virtue of her job. So she broke Eric Ten Hag to United like 3 months before like other media started.
To speak
Right?
about it.
So basically what she has said that now is Haaland is waiting on Madrid's team or Madrid to get back in touch with him in terms of having the transfer set up and done. But right now, based on what we're seeing, is that Haaland isn't too keen, or I would say he's not keen, but Haaland has an injury problem, and he doesn't want to accept that he has an injury problem. So City is now in the race. Now, basically, what Haaland's camp is asking City to do is to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to buy Haaland from
Leon, listen.
Dortmund and then
Leon,
put
one
in a
second. Leon,
release
one second. One
clause.
second. One second. One second. One second. One second. One second.
So Haaland camp is asking City to spend millions of dollars for him. And not only spending millions of dollars, but they also want City to put in a release clause. Now, a release clause is a break of contract where whatever amount a club puts in, let's say the release clause for Haaland is 80 million. If Madrid comes and say, yo, we're activating that 80 million, City cannot stop them. The only thing City can do is just tell Haaland that, yo, Madrid activates the release clause. And yeah, so they're no open to negotiations with you, which is basically what Mario said is that Haaland's camp basically wants City to deal with him after his injury, right? Maybe spend an extra year at City and then go to Madrid. Because of his injury concerns, Madrid is very hesitant
on signing him now. Let me just, for the people who don't know, this situation has been done before in the Neymar situation. Barca did not want to sell Neymar, but never have a goddamn choice because nobody on the planet thought anyone was dumb enough to activate a 220 million release clause. To know right now, some people release clause at 750 million.
Yeah, I think Pedro has a $1 billion release clause.
Exactly. So like release clauses are basically and basically a way for get you to sign the contract by telling you that you have an out, but the out is very ridiculous and hard for anybody to come by. So it still kind of plays into the team favor. What PSG did was shove it up Barca's ass with. Because Barca themselves, the reason why they put in a 200 million release clause, because them say, all right, nobody not dumb enough to play this. And everybody who can afford this, I don't think them stupid enough for pay. And PSG was like, hold on, where my drink? But yeah, continue with the Haaland thing. It's a rental. Because if you sign him for 1 year, right? If you sign him, more than likely he's going to spend his first year out with injury because of his ankle problem. And ankle problems, based on how the ankle problems are being reported, it would be best if you just take the year off and just heal the ankle completely to save your career. And okay, after that first year of the contract where he spent sitting out for injury, then you go to the second year now where he gets back into playing shape and gets back into form. And let's see how well they do that season. And then by the end of that season, maybe him spend an extra year to make it 3 years. But by that time, Madrid would come in for him.
Which is basically the grand plan, because Haaland doesn't want to stay at Dortmund. Dortmund is getting increasingly very frustrated at Haaland's inability to make up his mind if he's staying or going. And Madrid is very concerned over his injury concern. Because Madrid has
with their medical history
and Hazard, where they are. Perez wants to sign a Galacticos team. He doesn't want to have players that cannot effectively play.
Exactly, and with the Madrid medical team showing that it has some faults, they would prefer somebody else heal them up and then I come in and buy. So
but
in the early,
kind of weird because they signed Julian Alvarez from River Plate.
Yeah.
And they're seemingly wanting to sign Haaland.
Yeah. Insurance policy.
But like I wouldn't have signed Haaland. I would have gone for Felix if I was Pep.
True, but you see that's the thing, Pep has proven he can win with a Falls. And it's proven in Europe that you can win a Champions League with a Falls. Even if the Falls 9 is not Messi. We saw that with Firmino at Liverpool. But the problem is with the whole João Felix thing. Outside of Lewandowski, and we know that him and Zlatan never agree. Even though Eto'o won the Champions League, he pushed Eto'o out on the right. So even when he had out-and-out strikers, he would try and push them on the wing to make Messi play as a false 9. The problem with that is that Pep has realized, if I get an out, because remember, it's not like he lose the Champions League final against Chelsea by a lot. Wasn't it a late game goal?
No, it was an early game.
Or early game. Either way, the point is, it's not like him lose if he had an out-and-out striker who can still play in his playing style. There's a good chance Pep wins that final. Same thing with all of his Barca teams that went to semi-finals. If they had an out-and-out striker, we could push the ball up the pitch to at times. He would have won a lot more trophies. The unfortunate thing that happened at Bayern is that, his Bayern team went up against MSN. Arguably the greatest front three ever exists. So that was Pep's problem at Bayern. You just so happen to face the greatest front three to ever exist. So now, him have a player like Lewandowski, him have a squad like Bayern. Oh, you're going to give him the hardest team in our probably history for play against? So it's like
what I realized though, sometimes I think like for this season, right? City Like he could have gotten Kane, right? Which would be a perfect forward for him. But
Yes,
we
but
all know how
Daniel,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
You know
Daniel
Daniel
Levy,
Levy.
yeah, like him make sure so them put it in the top. So who is the other striker who could have just came into this team that they could afford and would definitely be world class?
That's why I
That's
said
the
I would
biggest
have gone
issue.
for Felix because Felix is
But Felix
Pep's
is not
type
a
of player.
striker. But again, remember, now, Felix is not even. I wouldn't even consider him a forward. He's an attacking midfielder. Yes, he will play as a false man. But I
Yeah, but for
think
his
Pep.
Benfica career, he played as a centre forward,
Yeah,
which
but
is
that's
what Pep
also
likes.
hold on. But he also played alongside a striker. Remember that Benfica team played in a 4-1-3-2 formation. So he still had another striker he could play off of, similar to Atletico Madrid, where he either plays off the number 9 or plays in behind the two strikers. But the problem is, I think Pep is tired of the false 9. He has enough players in his squad right now to get into a Champions League finals while playing as a false 9. And I think what Pep finally wants is to say, yo, if there's a number 9 who can fit in my playing style, who's a pure number 9, but he can still fit in my playing style, and I know he gave up Zlatan, he was unlucky to run into MSN when he did. So you kind of have to say, well, Pepper kind of here falls too. But if I think Pepper's learned from his mistake now that, all right, I have a squad that is probably one of, if not the best in terms of overall squad. All I need is a pure number 9 who just so happen to still be able to fit into my system in terms of passing and all of that stuff. I think Pep knows that yeah, I can win without João Felix, but I don't think João Felix would have made that big of a difference in the Champions League final against Chelsea. Because again, it wouldn't have been an out and out number 9. You know what was great about Aguero, and unfortunately Pep couldn't use him in his final days because he was constantly injured. Despite Aguero's kind of being undersized and not starting his career as more of a second striker or an inside forward, he's the perfect number 9 for Pep. Because again, he can drop off and link up play, can dribble past people if he wants, and he's a deadly finisher. The problem was that Aguero couldn't stay fit under Pep, and now he's retired. He couldn't even play at Barca. So every time Pep has managed to get a number 9, he either screws it up or he gets unlucky. He got unlucky with getting Aguero in a terrible time in his career. He got unlucky with getting Lewandowski when MSN was running the continent. And yeah, he had a troubled relationship with Eto'o and Zlatan. And still win with Eto'o. Still win a Champions League with Eto'o. And we saw what the relationship was with Zlatan. But Pep wants a number 9. I'm tired of going to the Champions League semi-finals and finals. And yes, we can pass the ball up to the box, but there's times when you need to swing in across and somebody to head the ball into the goal. And sure, Felix can do that, but Felix is not a player that you want doing that consistently either way, because the point of a false 9 is not to score a bunch of headers. So the reason why still, even with Kai Havertz and those guys, yes, them can fill in the role and they're tall enough to score headers. Because Felix is tall enough to score headers, and we've seen him score headers at Atletico. But what Pep wants is a pure number 9. Somebody who, yes, he's a pure number 9, but he can still have enough touch and dribbling, but still playing a playing style. But he wants a number 9 who every now and again, yes, Pep doesn't like kicking the ball long, but if I can just depend on crossing the ball into the box, and you're constantly there to jump on it, which is why I said CR7 would have been perfect. But of course, Sir Alex called CR7 at the last second and convinced him to put Man U on. But CR7 would have been perfect because he doesn't even like playing as an out-and-out striker. He would still be able to drop off and do whatever he wants. Wouldn't have much defensive duties because the rest of the team set up, just stand up, just link up, play and whatever. And then when the ball is crossed into the box, you have a target.
True.
Hey, in all fairness, if Pep did have even a Giroud at City, he could have won the Champions League.
Yeah, but attacking wasn't their problem.
Yeah, we don't say make a mistake and out tactic himself and just decide to go all out attack and not use a defensive midfielder. But that still only cost him 1 goal. I think if Pep thought he had a number 9 who could have been consistent out there, all right, Chelsea score early 1 goal. All right, we have a number 9 out there where we can actually aim at when we're in the box. Because yes, you can't bounce the ball around everybody consistently forever. That was figured out at Barca. And unless you have a midfield like a Liverpool one that is just constantly pressing and giving the front three the ball, then that not necessarily going to work either. Because yes, they play the same formation and they use a false 9, but Klopp style and Pep style is different as it pertains to how their midfield operates. Not that Pep's team doesn't press, but it's not their team is dependent on their press. So I think Pep just finally want a number 9 who can do what he wants, who can still fit in his squad. I do think if they don't get Haaland, they'll sign Felix or try and go after Felix. But I feel at this point, Pep just want that number 9 when sure can score 30 a season, but still a pure number 9. Again, when he got Aguero, too injury prone for even show up on the field. When he got Lewandowski, oh, by the way, MSN are on the continent, so you have to go off on that. When he had Zlatan, him and Zlatan couldn't get along together. And him win one with Eto'o, but the relationship was broken beyond repair by that time. But yeah, I'm not buying a player for probably like what, 100, between 70 and 100 million. And then
no, we're not talking about the agent fees and the wage that he wants. I think that's like Raiola wants 40 mil. We're hearing that Haaland wants close to 400k per week. Like that's massive amount of money after a player for what, 2 years, maybe 3.
Maybe
you
3.
give that type of money to a player that is going to be here for 5-6 years.
Exactly, but you practically only get 2. You practically only get 2 years because again. So, like when you the most thing you get is 2 years because in injury prone, more than likely you're gonna give him the first year of the injury.
And persons might be saying, how do we know he's injury prone? Haaland's manager came out and said that Haaland is playing with anti-inflammatory meds. Right? And Mario is the man who does sports science. He can tell you that, yo, Haaland's injury was described that his ankle was bent to a 90 degrees. 90 degrees. No, that sounds painful, but I will let Maria explain what that type of injury can do to a striker. But we know that Haaland is refusing to do an MRI. His camp is refusing to hand over the medical records to Madrid. And Madrid wants him to stay at Dortmund for 1 more year to make sure that the injuries are behind us. Mm-hmm. And so this is how City is stealing into the transfer.
But it's not beneficial for them. That's my problem with the City thing. It's not beneficial for them based on how they want it set up. Like, it's not beneficial for
when
them.
When your sugar daddy can call up 2 companies in the UAE and tell them to give 100 mil, money is not a problem.
Money is not the problem now. It's what you can get out of the player. Like, you're probably not going to use him for the first year because of the injuries. Then, again, even in his second year, he just get back to football. So,
and you don't know how he's going to adapt to English football.
And the system that Pep has, because again, he's an out-and-out number 9. So, again, like in that situation, I just don't see how it's beneficial to City. Now, of course, City's playing style doesn't depend on a number 9, and you still have Julian Alvarez coming in. So I guess you could say we'll still have some safety blankets for the place, but it just doesn't seem like worth the risk for the amount of money you're gonna pay, and you only gonna get to use the player for 3 years, for 2 years at the most. Because one of them years they might go out for injury. So you still only get maybe 2 years off of the player. So what are you gonna do? Spend what, 40 million per season?
Right, yeah. So Tuchel has confirmed that Rudiger is leaving the club, and all signs point that he's going to Real Madrid.
Rudiger, I will never deny that Rudiger is a good player. But people also need to remember that Thomas Tuchel's system covers a lot of his mistakes or shortcomings. Because you have to remember, when he was at Roma, we couldn't decide in between playing him as a right back or a centre back, because as a right back, going forward, he was inconsistent. I know people see some of him long range goal them and see some of the stuff he does going forward, but those are moments. If you ask him to do it consistently week in, week out, you'll see that it's not there consistent.
Because so we bought him for the Conte system, because he was a good right-sided centre back in our back three. Exactly.
And if you play him in our back four, yes, he's comfortable upon the ball, he's fast, but you have to play him alongside somebody who's a leader.
Luis as a back four under Sarri. And we saw how leaky that defense was. Sarri had to become very pragmatic
and start to play deeper
to plug those defensive lapses. And persons blamed it on Jorginho, like it was his fault.
So again, unless Madrid are going to switch to a back three, which Ancelotti has done every now and again, but not consistently as his team's formation, but like as a tactical change. But unless they're going to switch to a back three, this wouldn't be ideal for and then Madrid doesn't, to me, have that Sergio Ramos, Thiago Silva player.
Because what a lot of Chelsea fans need to understand, and this is where I realize that a lot of fans are very, what would I say? They are very emotional, and they're very reactionary, right?
Yeah, especially nowadays.
Rudiger wanted more than 200K per week, right? Van Dijk, Ruben Diaz, Laporte, who you would consider maybe the top 3 centre backs in the league, right, are not earning that amount of money. Van Dijk is on 200K. Rudiger wanted more than that. Basically, what Rudiger wanted was a pay that would make him the best paid centre back in the league. And can you come out and say Rudiger is the best centre back in the Premier League? No. Can you say he's the most informed centre back in the Premier League? Yes.
Sure, I can say that.
But a lot of persons need to understand, say, under Lampard, Rudiger was on his way out. He was on the transfer list under Lampard. Lampard, he was about to be sold in the summer. Tuchel came in and revived his career at Chelsea. Like us telling our friends in the group, even for Germany, we don't even like playing him in a back four.
Yeah, like this has been done. This has been because he was supposed to be a Boateng replacement.
Exactly, but he's not a Boateng because he's not consistent enough and he's prone to lapses of concentration. Now, when you talk about transfers, right, and the contracts on the whole, right, one of the biggest reasons why Manchester United find themselves in the hole that they are in is because they kept giving out big contracts to players and have no way to get rid of them. Another club that fell into that trap, Barcelona. They kept giving out these massive contracts to players.
Yeah, but in Barca's situation,
players talk to players.
Yeah, but hold on. In Barca's situation, it's a bit different. Man United wasted contracts on players. Barca's players who were the difference with Barca,
right?
The difference with Barca was that they gave too big of a contract to players who were already like the Piqués, the Jordi Alba, Busquets.
That was just coming to that point, right?
Yeah.
You have United that just kept on throwing big wages and long contracts to players that didn't deserve it. Then you have the Barca where, we give Jordi Alba £500,000 this week. Piqué contract offering Piqué say what 600,000. We give Piqué 600,000. Busquets see that Busquets was 650,000. No, Messi was 700,000. Where do you stop? You just keep on inflating. You know, Real Madrid went through this very same problem. People feel like Real Madrid didn't buy any players for the past couple of years because they didn't want to. It's because they couldn't. Why you think they've been trying to get rid of Bale? And Bale is a prime example of a club that will give a player a big money contract. Now, what happens when that player is no longer in favor? What happens when when the manager no longer wants that player? What happens when that player is on the injury board? Let's look at Hazard.
Or just
He's consistently injured.
Or just it just doesn't easily.
And the player just can't perform anymore.
Not even performance. Because I still think Bale can perform well if he's fully fit.
Yeah, but Bale's a case where the manager no longer wants him in the squad.
Not just that, but Bale's worth as well. At least you can come on somewhat of a 30 million for Hazard. You cannot covet that for Bale because you haven't been playing.
Exactly. But you see, Bale is a prime example of, we've always heard of clubs holding players to contract. Bale is a prime example of a player holding the club to contract.
Exactly.
And many of the Madrid fans are pissed at it, but I'm not upset at Bale. They gave you a 700K per week contract. They have to honor it.
And a long term.
Showed up to training every year, every day. It's not your fault the manager doesn't want to play you.
And a long-term one. That's the thing, you know. It's one thing.
Long-term.
Is one thing if you give players these big contracts, but if you give them, and this is what I'm gonna say, LeBron.
But they gave him a nice 5-year deal.
Yeah,
700,000 per week.
That's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna rate like LeBron James. Like, and I've never seen a footballer taking this approach because they don't really need for enough football and things are more like team oriented. But LeBron James purposefully takes 1 to 2 year deals maximum, or a 3-year deal with an option opt out.
You remember a couple years back when Arsene Wenger said, "Be prepared for players running down their contracts, for players no longer signing these 5-year, 6-year deals. Be prepared for players signing 2 and 3-year deals."
Yeah, because it's smarter. You have more control over your future. Like, so
many players right now in the modern game, right now Declan Rice wants to leave West Ham. And because he has 2.5 years left on his contract, West Ham is holding him at 150 million. No, exactly. Declan Rice knows he's not worth 150 mil. And he knows no club is going to pay that. But as much as he can look at West Ham and tell them that, yo, I'm not signing any contract extensions that you give me.
You're still there for the next 2 years.
He's still stuck, and they have the option to extend it. Exactly. So that 2 years can turn 3.
Exactly, and that's my thing, which is why I said even things like release clauses is basically just to get you to sign a contract. It's basically to give you
by Spanish law, the contract has to have a release clause. That's why every player in Spain has a release clause in their contract.
Yeah, but that's why the clubs make the release clause so high.
These ridiculous values, because they know that because every club has to have a release clause. Like I said, Barca put on $1 billion release clause in Pedri.
Because them get burned before. Because nobody thought that PSG would have been stupid enough but actually break at 222 million release clause. Now we have a player like Pedri, drop $1 billion on that. Who will pay $1 billion?
So this is what you have to. So a lot of fans are blaming Marina, and I know it's easy target for a lot of person because they're not looking at football from the financial and business aspect. They're only seeing the sporting side of it. But what a lot of Chelsea fans do not understand is you can criticize Marina for not bringing in the player that you want, but her job is to make sure that she gets the best possible deal
for the club.
And no person look at it and say that, oh, Lukaku is making 325,000. Werner is making 270,000. When we signed Lukaku, he was the best player in Serie A. When we signed Werner, he was the second best striker in Germany.
In the Bundesliga.
He He was the best, our top 3 striker under 25. The only other 2 strikers under 25 that could compare to him were Mbappe and Haaland. And Werner was actually scoring more goals than Haaland and Mbappe. So he commanded a weight because Liverpool wanted him. Liverpool was going to get him. They just didn't have the money to do it. So you have to give him money comparative to the status of the player that you are bringing in.
In the moment as well.
He predicted that move wasn't going to work out.
And again, Werner's move to me is like forward. I don't consider it a fucking failure. Like
it isn't a failure because, to be honest with you, we have not played to his strength. Yes, he has missed chances.
But he has scored. But he has scored when it is important.
He has scored and he couldn't finish them, but he then became a creator. He started to create. He started to supply the chances for his teammates to finish. So
same thing with Torres. Torres would go on a run where he was like assisting a lot more than scoring.
And in the last couple of matches, Werner has been our most informed attacker because he's been scoring consistent in the last couple of matches. So he's trying to turn his Chelsea career around. But the reason why fans won't jump on Werner's back while they are jumping on Lukaku's back is because Werner works hard. He will run himself into the ground for the team. So even if he's not scoring, fans will always be more appreciative of a player that even though you're not doing your primary task, if they see that you're busting a gut on the field and you're putting all the effort, they will always back you. It's why Lukaku is on the wrong side of many Chelsea fans. Now, when we bought Lukaku, right, he was the best striker that we could have got outside of Haaland and Lewandowski and Mbappe. There was no other forward in Europe that had his record. He's a proven goal scorer in the Premier League because he has over 100 Premier League goals. So we know he can score in the Premier League.
My question is, what does Lukaku want? Because I think this system would have fitted better than the Inter system.
But that's the problem. And that is the billion-dollar question because even yesterday we were watching the match. No, earlier we was watching the match and Gary Neville said like he had Lukaku as his wants to watch for this season because he said it, and I remember watching that very first Friday Night Football when the season just started, and Gary Neville said Lukaku is the missing piece for Chelsea.
Yes, in terms of playing style.
We needed someone to finish off all the chances that we were creating. And
a focal point.
Then he did a stupid ass interview. And it just is on the bench. Now the club's probably looking to get rid of you. But you can't persons see that we've given these players big contracts, right? And now they're saying, oh, why is it that we can't give Rudiger his big contract? No, what happens when 2 years down the line we need to get rid of Rudiger or we need to sell Rudiger? Who's going to buy him when he's on 230,000, 250,000 pounds a week?
Exactly.
No, remember, the player is entitled to see out his contract and the club has to honor it. It doesn't matter if you relegate him to the under 23, no matter if you're banned from the training ground, you have to pay him that money. So if you want to free up that 250,000 pounds that he's on, and then now, when Reece James and Mason Mount or Kai Havertz's contract needs to be extended, they're going to know that Rudiger just got 250,000 a week, and he's 30. No, they are in their they don't enter them prime yet.
Most of them are soon touch 25, and that is soon.
Exactly, and most of them are soon touch 24 to be more exact here.
Exactly. So
they're performing at a high level. They haven't reached their prime yet. So when their contracts are up for renewal, they're going to see that a man that is 30 something is earning £250,000.
It's not
And
even
best
just that,
believe
like,
that
cause
they're
it
going
does
to
no,
want
cause hold on,
something
Leon, hold on,
matching that or better than that.
True, but like, you're not even have to watch you're not even have to watch your team. You as a player know, say, yo, all right, win the Champions League, you're supposed to get paid as a Champions League.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not even have to
They
watch your
don't even need the coach to tell them that they are indispensable at the club. They are untouchable. A club would have to come in with 100 million, 150 mil to even entertain talks of signing them. Havertz was picked up because Roman loved him. If Madrid or Barca, any of these clubs want to get Havertz, they probably have to break Neymar's record for prime from Chelsea's hand. And Chelsea has to give Havertz a contract reflective of that. Let's look at Kante. Kante's earning 300,000 a week. Chances are, right, Kante wouldn't have thrown a big fuss if he was on 200,000 when his contract was up for renewal back then. But the club realized that, hey, you are a world-class player. You're one of the best in your position, or the best in your position. We have to pay you according to that. So if a next club comes and wants to take you, they are going to have to better our 300,000 plus transfer fee, plus agent fee, plus signing on fee. When a player is on a big wage, this is a club we have said that, hey, if you want him, you're going to have to better the wage, but also remember that you not only have to better the wage, you also have to give the agent team commission, you have to give the player that sign-on fee, plus you have to pay a transfer fee. So when you're buying a player, it's not just, oh, we're spending 100 mil on that player. No. In that transfer fee goes to the club. Now you have to factor in the bonuses, the wages, the agent commission, all of these things. So one player transfer can be like 150 mil over the lifetime of the contract.
Yes, so put it this way. If you sign a player for 100 mil, it's about 150. Sign for 50 mil, it's about 100 mil.
Because if you're signing a player for 100 mil, chances are you're probably giving him 12, 30 million a year in wages. Chances are the agent is collecting 10 million off of that, 20 million off of that.
Like I said, 20 million, but just like
because the problem with Rudiger and Chelsea negotiations was that his agent wanted 10 million. Rudiger wanted 10 million as a sign-on bonus, and he wanted 230,000. Now, Tuchel today said that they negotiated and the sanctions is what effectively fucked the deal because the club could no longer negotiate. And chances are, if we didn't get sanctioned, we probably could have negotiated something because the thing with Marina is, Marina is not taken as a clown, and if she says 60, it's 60, and that's the end of the story. When we had a verbal agreement with Sevilla to get Koundé for 45, when we went to the 45 to go and buy Koundé, Sevilla then said, oh, we want 60. And Marina tell them goodbye.
Exactly. Oh, we don't shake on this area.
It's the principle. This is what princes do, honestly. See, if other clubs know that hero, we can't just tell you one thing, and when a time to come by the player, we can tell you another thing, they will continuously do it.
Manchester United is the perfect example.
Manchester United is the perfect example. A club will come and tell them 40 mil.
And then spend 80 mil per Maguire.
They spend 8, exactly. They end up spending 80 mil per Maguire.
Plus add-on fees, plus signing bonus, plus agent.
Plus agent fees, all of these fees that you have to consider.
So you really look on 110 mil. So
Marina has a reputation around Europe as being a tough negotiator. Same with Daniel Levy. Hate Daniel Levy all you want. But best believe if you're going to Tottenham to buy a player, you're not taking the club for a fool. And that is where it's at. So when we go back for Koundé this season, Sevilla understands it's a no bullshit deal here. Same thing with Christensen. We match Christensen offer 3 times. And every time we say, all right, then this is where you want seat here. Come sign the contract. They give you other excuse. What did the club do? The club said, all right, then, you know what? This is the final office. Then you sell it or you leave. And this also sends a message to the other players within the club. Don't feel that when it's time for contract negotiations, that you can play around or that the club is going to bend over backwards for you.
But I don't think it's a bend over backwards in Christensen. I think Christensen is still estimating his value, and I think that's a problem. Rudiger know his value, you know, but in value just too much. I think Christensen bounces around his value too much. And then one thing I noticed in the Christensen situation, and players should recognize this as well. Stop judging yourself by transfer. Please stop judging yourself by transfer. Not because Barca and Real Madrid are interested in you, means your transfer rate go up all of a sudden. So don't watch that. You can't watch that. You just have to watch the performances that you've had for the club. And sure, you can still have confidence in yourself as a player, but you still have self-awareness. What I don't like when players do is, all right, this and that team is interested in me. All right, let me go ask Chelsea for more money. All right, let me go ask my club for more money. Because you don't see that Madrid and Barca want. And I think that was the Christensen mistake. It wasn't necessarily bending over for the club to bend over backwards to him. Christensen is struggling with estimating his own worth. Where Rudiger knows his worth, but you kind of go to pocket. You know exactly what you want, and you know your worth. But you're probably broke apart. So I think with Christensen, it's more of finding a way to value himself. So you come to him with an offer, sure, I'll take that. But then you see some transfer news or you hear your agent say something, and your agent say, say this and that club interested in you. You go back to the negotiation table again. Oh, this club and that club said they're interested in me. And at some point, like I said, Marina just gonna say, all right, since this, that, and that club, go pick one. Pick one.
Just pick one. I think I understand why fans don't want good players to leave, but I think a lot of persons should understand that the reason why Christensen and Rudiger's contract expired was because there were two players that Chelsea were going to sell. Rudiger has not been great. His career has not been great at Chelsea. Yes, under Tuchel, he's been beautiful and one of the best centre-backs in the world. But let's not forget that under Conte, Sarri, and Lampard, his performances were just meh.
It was a good player. It was a good player.
It's a good squad player, but if we could get some better, we get some better.
Exactly.
Same for Christensen.
Same thing for German. I was even complaining about Christensen just finally taking that next step because I see him as a John Terry type who can lead the team going
exactly.
forward.
Just true. I remember you saying that too, that you are frustrated because he's not making that next step up to prove himself that you're a world-class centre-back. You've watched him at Mönchengladbach for 2 years because he was out on loan there for 2 years. You've highly rated him when you came into the side, when Conte brought him in.
Still think we should have kept Ake with him.
Yeah, you still should have kept Ake. Right, but you say you're waiting on Christensen to step up, and even JT had high hopes for him.
By the way, City released Ake this window because
I don't think so. They're using him a lot more. He's a great utility player. I think
no. In terms of letting him go this.
No, I don't think that's fair.
No, because them have other interests in terms of players, in terms of centre. Because them are go after Paul Torres and Wolfsburg left in centre.
The
French brother. The French brother.
Lacroix?
Yes. City look for him, and there's a centre back. There's a centre back from Benfica with him probably teeth. That's what I'm gonna say. With Paul Torres and Lacroix and very most of the options to City next year, that's what I'm gonna say. There might be a chance that Ake leaves because but I take him a Gladbach right now to put him alongside Ginter. For help my defense, Ginter needs somebody. I'm gonna take Ake.
But you see, this comes from, I know you've been a big advocate of this. I know you see Rudiger leave or Christensen is not really a big thing for you because you wanted Chelsea to scrap his squad completely. and
Yes, because
rebuild it with youth.
no, granted, this year, no, being that we never win the Champions League this year, and we never win the league titles, the master or what they want to win this year, I would maybe hold off a year, but I would again, I don't mind if what I'm saying is I don't mind if we do scrap the squad this summer. But it would be ideal if we scrap the squad. Even if we did accomplish everything we want this year. Especially if we accomplish everything we did want this year on the team. It would be best to scrap the squad. One of the things that Sir Alex Ferguson is very much an expert as. When his team wins, him scrap it, blows and skirt.
Yes. Yeah. Every 3 years he's changing his squad.
Exactly. Now, of course, certain core pieces might stay, if, like, you know, your Carrick, your Rooney, but them guys, they just untouchable in the squad at the time. You literally couldn't sell them. And why the fuck would you want right away? So, you gotta have certain players where I guess like a Drogba. Look how long Drogba and Terry and certain man did there at Chelsea. Because they were untouchable. But you don't want to wait. And this is why I'm gonna say that we're not fussy about the Rudiger thing. It don't make sense that you have players who are 30 years old and going on, and you're giving them new long-term needs.
And no, one other person is actually looking at it now, and you just say that actually, I mean, remember this point. The young players coming through will see this 30-year-old on a big contract and decide to leave. Because that 30-year-old is blocking them. Because no club is going to have a player on big money sitting on the bench.
And don't play them.
Right now, we have Levi Colwill, which many persons within Cobham have said is our best centre-back that we have produced. And we have produced some very good centre-backs.
And we still have a deal with Salah from Fenerbahce coming over, the Hungarian centre-back who impressed at the Euros. There's still him coming in. Like I said,
still can go back from Mark Dewey from Crystal Palace, who's been Crystal Palace's best centre-back this year. So Chelsea still is after Koundé. So there's many young options around to rebuild the defense. Yes, granted, we might have to spend more money on the defense.
No, but Leon, here's my thing. Here's my thing. If you sell the old man, then you have enough money to do the fuck you
want. No, that's true.
That's my issue. If you clear this Chelsea squad the right way, you don't have to worry about spending. You're going to get enough money to spend on it. That's my thing. Like, that's why I said, you see, if Chelsea did win all of the trophies, even if we don't win the Champions League, you see, if we at least win the FA Cup, the League Cup, we did win the Community Shield already, and win the league. Mm-hmm. If we did even just do that, along with the Clubs World Cup and the European Super Cup, you could scrap the goddamn squad at damn near everybody in the starting 11. You could have Lego ZH as Spilicueta, even if you want to go Thiago, as much as he's a leader. You could have scrapped all that because all of them would have accomplished everything they need to accomplish for Chelsea. You could have let go Kante, you could have let go everybody and just completely rebuild this squad.
But I think we have, like you said, we have some players in the team that can command some very good transfer fees.
Yeah, you still do. But here's my thing. No, I would try that, and this is what I'm gonna say. But it want us to accomplish everything this year. Because right now, if I was in Chelsea right now, I would try to bring in Hazard right now and keep the same 3-4-3 formation, and try to get what do you call it? The English quartet along with the Champions League next year, and then clear the squad. Because if you have Hazard, Ziyech, and Tingle as your starting guys, and I know that Kai Havertz will probably still start over Ziyech, whichever one of them you want to start. But if you have Hazard, Lukaku, and whether Ziyech or Kai, you have Pulisic, Ziyech, Timo Werner. You still have, as I said, Lukaku. If Lukaku make up his mind for actually play well and take it serious, cool. But adding Hazard to this team right now, especially going into like a summer, I think it would be the perfect time. Especially like when you fully understand the Ousmane Dembele situation. 1 minute Barca want to sell him, 1 minute no, we don't want to sell him. 1 minute him want to leave Barca, 1 minute him score a trick, you may stay. So I would even hold off on scrapping the squad right now and just add Hazard to the squad, just for run through it another year. But what I would have done with Rudiger's contract is say, Rudiger, I'm now sign it to a 3-4 year deal for how much millions of dollars. I can get a 2-year deal with a big signing bonus. So your contract, so your price, your contract is still large. You still gonna get your signing bonus. And if I need to let you go from the squad, I can still let you go quick. Because if you give him a 2-year deal right now, one of them years they would have been done by the end of next season. You get what I'm saying? So he would have still command the wages when he have, but at the same time, he would have still have power over who he can choose to go to. And Chelsea, and he still wouldn't broke Chelsea pocket. Once a player reached 30, you stop with a 3-year, 4-year contract, in my opinion. If we're talking about from the club perspective. Now, from the agent perspective, which is why I said, you guys can hate me in Ariola all you want. If I am playing football right now, I don't care if I'm at the bottom or some. I could have still played football in Jamaica. If me and Ariola, I would love being Ariola as my agent. Tired for say, I will. But I wouldn't. If any agent would have wanted a football right now, me and Ariola. That man know how to get the best for your client. And you can't go around that. Yes, it will broke your franchise. And if you're a franchise who's stupid like Man to be Pogba money and then to pay 80 mil for Maguire, well, fuck. You don't think me and Rio like take advantage of you?
True.
You know why clubs hate me and Rio? It's because he always look out for his players. And they don't look out for the club. He want 30 million from the club to see him signing fee. In player need to get another 20 million as a signing bonus. And oh yeah, pay Juventus or whichever club you are buying from another 50 million. And somehow Riola manages to get those deals done. Or else he wouldn't have any clients. So again, the client is not supposed to, Riola is not supposed to help your football. So if you hate him because he might rob your club like a Man U, sure, hate him if you want. I don't care if you hate him. If I was a footballer and somebody say, oh, Mario, you need an agent and me and Riola just look for some small time players and can earn a little light bill off. You see me? Or who knows? He want to buy champagne on the yacht this weekend, so he need an extra money. Because he definitely don't need the money from somebody in a small club like me. But let's say he just want to even expand his horizons into CONCACAF, right? Yeah. And him sign me. I would have loved him as an agent. I could go rob MLS. Well, then again, MLS have salary cap. I could go rob MLS club and become a designated player. Make me and him go rob a Liga MX club and or something. You get what I'm saying? If I was a player, I would love Riola as an agent. He always had a lookout for you. He's not supposed to help your football club. Which is why if you and him can't make a deal, you better tell him to fuck off. And I don't think, how many players does Chelsea have ever had under Rio?
None.
Exactly.
We don't do business with him.
Exactly. Because you know him going to try for rob you, which is his job. You don't see him rob PSG with Zlatan.
Yep.
Still never get a Champions League out of I know. Blind. Take him as a free agent when him and carry him to Juventus for free. Make them give him a big contract. Prove himself at Juventus. Then make Man U spend 90 million plus the agent fees plus the signing bonuses and all of them things there. So a little over 100 million. Forget about Pogba. Pogba get you what? Europa League and a League Cup title.
Yep.
And no
the manager Wemsey gave him depression.
Yeah, that's the least. But you tell me say Riola still, I know Riola get for choose where he want to go again. I'm more than likely them are gonna rob PSG because a PSG alone we know what I sign Pogba.
Yeah, a PSG alone want him.
And them are gonna rob PSG again. Well, that's what I ended for the transfer talk for today. I want to thank Leon for coming in despite the fact that kind of ill and affected pain medication right now. We'll see again. Check out Live Sports. Check out the Live Sports podcast, the One Love Sports Show, and the 90th Minute Whistle on any of your podcasting platforms. Check us out on YouTube at Live Sports. Check us out on our website at livesports.net. We'll see you guys next time.